So as we said, we're moving down the stack of the OSI model. We look at the application layer. Now we're going to look at the presentation layer. So the presentation layer is responsible for formatting and anything that needs to be done to that data sent by the application layer or that it's going to be sent by the application layer. The presentation layer just makes it presentable if you wish, right? So that way you remember, oh, what do I do? You know, if you have something that you have written like a first draft for, you know, some document, then the presentation layer will actually edit it for you so that the other side can read it for you. Okay, so it formats, compresses, encrypts, whatever needs to be done, that's done by the presentation layer. And it gives you an example, right? If you're sending an email, you know, that will be the application layer, then the presentation layer may encrypt it, so for example, so that it's safe to send, right? And of course, we have some protocols like SSL, FTP, IMAP, SSH. So as we said, right, there is different protocols as well at the presentation layer. Now, these protocols that we see in here, right in here, they are not for, you know, for a lot of people to use, right? The regular user will not use it. Basically, they will not directly access it because they usually just touch the application layer. However, you as a network professional, you will have access to utilities that directly touch the presentation layer. So the presentation layer, right, after it presents, you know, after it fixes or formats whatever is being sent, is going to continue down into the session layer. And here are some examples of what the presentation layer will do. It will encode and decode, right, depending. It will encode if it's going down the stack, and it will decode if it's coming from the bottom to the top, you know. And it will encrypt going down, decrypt going up, compress going down, decompress going up. Okay, so it will decide and it will figure out what's the best way of transmit the data, you know, just to follow your instructions. So keep in mind that the presentation is very, very important, right, in matter of how you send it and to make sure that it's properly formatted for the recipient on the other side. So we started application, we went into presentation. Now let's get into the session layer. And here comes the session layer. Okay, the session layer, you know, it's kind of funny because the session, the presentation layer, and the application layer, they kind of merge into one big layer, right? But the session layer basically is going to provide a mechanism for opening, closing, and managing sessions between, you know, a couple of computers, right? Between end user application processes. Okay, that's what it's going to be doing. So you notice, I don't know if you have ever done this, that if you are, let's say, performing a bank transaction online and you take too long to do something, or even if you are booking a trip, right? Sometimes it tells you, oh, the session will expire in so and many seconds, right? So that's the session layer acting, right, in behalf of the software. So it's being programmed to say that, right, to stop communication just in case somebody intercepts any data, right? Or, you know, just not to leave the session lingering for a long time, right? So that will be a session, you know, end-to-end processes working with one another. Notice that in here it says various APIs and sockets. APIs are application programming interfaces. So it's, you know, the part that actually interacts with you. That's why I'm saying in here that many times those top three layers, they kind of merge into one big fat layer, right? And learning about APIs and sockets, that's something that we're going to do in this class as well. So once again, right, we have here our OSI model. As I mentioned, those three are kind of together, and basically the session layer is going to manage the connection between two communicating endpoints. Okay, remember it can time out and all those things, but those are programmed by software engineers or by whoever is managing the network or the server, right, that is providing the service to you as a client. Remember, all of these, you know, in all of these, we're talking about within the client server model.